Unmute.
Unmuted?
There you go.
Now I'm not allowed to operate things. Hi, everybody. I hope you're having a great Saturday. I'm a little behind the eight ball today. I woke up coughing in the middle of the night, so I've been up a while. Let's put it that way. And then, of course, I made breakfast this morning and, did the usual Saturday morning thing. And then decided that, oh my goodness, I almost forgot I had prepped everything for tomato sauce yesterday. And the day got away from me, so I never got around to doing it. So I did the tomatoes this morning and got that canned. And then realized that I only had half an hour to get ready for today. So, pardon me. Here we are. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday. We finally have an absolutely beautiful day out there. It is not too hot yet. We're saying we're going to hit around 30 today. And so it's nice, and the nights have been nice and cool and not horribly humid as they've been most of this summer. So we've had some really great weather for today and for the rest of the weekend, apparently. So I'm really looking forward to a nice, cool evening. I know I'm a fall creature. I love the fall, so this cooler evenings just suits me perfectly. So I'm a happy camper. Oh, it's 25. Renee's waving the weather app at me. 25 degrees Celsius. For those of you in the States, it's Celsius.
Change that.
Yeah, you can change it to Fahrenheit. I think it's probably, 70? I'm not sure. All I know is it's warm. 25 is warm. It's comfortably warm. Not horribly hot. 77, really? I didn't think it was that warm. Anyway, so it's ideal weather. And I know that some of you in the southern parts of the U.S. are really struggling with the heat. And I'm so sorry. I don't like the heat. Not a fan. Today we're going to be painting Old World grapes. This is just a fun piece to paint. Simple surface, easy, and I think it's a rather elegant looking background, an easy and elegant looking background. Fun little technique to chip the edges, make it look really, really old. And then I've got a fun technique for painting these grapes that I think you're going to enjoy. It's really simple. Don't have to overthink it, which is always a good thing. I don't like overthinking things. I make a habit of it far too frequently. So we're going to be painting those Old World grapes. But before we get to that, I'm going to talk about some happy mail that I got this week, which was a pile. Got oodles of cards. Thank you so much to everyone who sent me cards. I love getting those. I love the little notes that are always tucked inside. They're very sweet. So just note that they're very much appreciated. I had far too many of them this week to remember all of your names. There's just too many. I think I got somewhere around 30 this week. It was crazy. So thank you very much. I do appreciate it. And I get some wonderful little gifties from friends, which was nice too. So I got some nifty little items that popped up. A friend dropped me a little bee pin in the mail, and somebody else sent me a little card that's got a bee that pops out. It's fun. I'm rather obsessed with bees all year long, so don't be a bit surprised when they show up. This week for giveaways, get something a little bit different. We have a beautiful set of Dynasty Faux Squirrel brushes to give away, in 3 of them, actually. So there's a 3 brush set, and we have 3 of those to give away. And I was trying to think what we could do that was a little more fun, so I did up a kit. So the kit for next week's project, which is the Farm Fresh Berries, there is a full-size printed pattern, the surface, the stencils required, plus a set of brushes, and some other goodies that we've thrown in as well. So that value comes out to about $30 US, which is a nice little price pack. So we're going to be sending 3 of those out for you this week. So if you want to get your name on the wheel, all you have to do is participate in the chat. All you got to do is say hi, join us and join in on the conversation, ask a question, and we'd appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button or the share button or the like button. We're happy when you hit all the buttons. So that's all you have to do for to get your name on the wheel. So I will, and I do want to say hi to a few people that are in the chat today. Deb Pells, hello, sweetie. Deb's in Hamilton, Ontario area, and Shelby Thomas, hello, Shelby. And Molly Ann Stocks. Molly Ann, I haven't seen your name in the chat in a while. It's probably been there, but it's nice to see you here. And Maggie Bolger, hello, from Indiana. And Linnell Caustic Watchhorn, hello, sweetie. And Robin Storm, sweetheart, mwah. Give Gizmo a big hug from me. And who else is here? Sherry Desjardins, nice to see you. And Phyllis Higgins, hello. Oh my goodness, there's a whole bunch of you here today. And Susan Welshmeyers, hello. Oh my heavens. Everybody's here. Cindy Kessler, hello. From Naples, Florida. That's down there. And Angie Hilton, hello, Angie. Oh my heavens. And Lori Newhouse. Good heavens. Everybody's here today. And of course, one of my besties, Sheila Landry. Mwah. Love you, sweetie. And Sandy. Oh my goodness, Sandy's here. Yay. Hi, sweetie. And Linda Safranco. I want to say hi, a special hello to two people in particular. To Mary, Linda Safranco's mom. Mwah. Love you, sweetheart. And to Linda's hubby, Carl. Hello, sweetie. I hope you're feeling better. Just such sweet people. If anybody that's involved with my membership group knows just how special Linda Safranco is to me. And her hubby is just one of the dearest men, and she's so sweet. So I just got to say hi, and of course to her mom who watches every Saturday. So thank you so much for watching. We appreciate it. And one of my oldest and dearest friends, Karen Jones. Hello, sweetheart. I know yesterday was a rough day. You've lost Karen lost a family member yesterday. So big hugs and love going out to her. And oh my goodness, everybody is here today. Anastasia, hello. And Marjorie Eaton. My membership group has been doing a challenge this week because it is sunflower season. And Marjorie posted hers the other day. That woman is unbelievable. The talent just oozes out of that woman. God-given, I got to tell you. So, now that I've said hi to a bunch of people, I'm sorry I can't say hi to everybody or I'd be here all day. So, we are going to get busy with painting. Bear with me. I'm going to sound a little stuffy, a little gravelly at times, but I am getting better. I have asthma and bronchitis and then some kind of a sinusy thing that's going on. Anyway, saw the doctor, got some meds this week, so I am on the mend. I just don't sound it yet. So just bear with me, please. So today we're going to be painting this little fella. I love these little phone stands. They are just the best little surface. You can do such fun things with these. And this is what we're going to paint, is these old world grapes. It's a simple little project, but there's some interesting techniques involved. So it makes for a fun project as well. So that is what we're going to work on today. So if you are ready to get started, so am I. So this is the surface that I like. I love working with these. I just think that these are such a great little surface. They're small, they're compact. You can do really elaborate things on them, or you can do really simple things on them, and they're functional. You put them together, you got a place to park your phone for the day. They're just a great, great little surface. Now, there's such a variety of these. I know Stockade here in Canada carries these ones, and I know that Pinecraft carries a version of it. So does CD Wood. I think every manufacturer actually has a variation on this same theme. I like this one because it's pretty much just a very basic design. You don't really have to stick within a certain parameter on this one. So it's not styled for any one thing, which makes them pretty versatile. So I'm going to grab a sanding sponge because I forgot my sander. So I've got one coat of almondine on this surface. One coat. And I'm going to give it a light sanding. Now, I thin my paint out with a little bit of Joe Sonia's Fast Dry Glaze, just so you can see. I thin it out with that, and it does two things. One, it puts the paint on, and it's very thin, but at the same time, it's also going to raise the grain of the wood, so you're going to have to give it a light sanding, but you don't have to do too heavy of an application. Now, I'm using a stencil to do this background, and it's this one here. I love this one. We just started stocking these. This one is a cancellation stamp, and it's got, you know, some simple script and whatnot on them. I do have these on my website, and we do have a few left. I know that they've been selling very quickly, but we do have a few left. So I'm going to tape my stencil in place. I always like to tape my stencil down just so that it doesn't shift and move around. Just makes life a little easier in the end. And we're going to stencil that with a little bit of asphaltum. If I can find my asphaltum. Told you, I'm not firing on all cylinders today. So, a little bit of asphaltum. And I'm going to grab my... going to stencil it. I'm using a Dynasty Stencil Pro stencil brush, either 1/2 inch or 5/8. Either, it's the ideal size for this. And I don't have these on my website, but Sandy McTeer does. So Sandy, if you want to throw that link up real quick for these Dynasty Stencil Pro stencil brushes, you will not be disappointed. These are a synthetic, so they hold up to an immense beating, I can promise you. And I put them through the paces, so does Sandy. We're both very dedicated to this brush because it does the job and you can't kill it. You seriously cannot kill this brush. So if you're looking for it, go check out sandymcteerdesign.com. And if Sandy happens to be out of stock, then thebrushguys.com will also stock this. And you can use the coupon code TracyM for an additional discount. But my girl Sandy's got these stencil brushes on her site. So I'm using asphaltum in a circular fashion, and I'm changing directions frequently because I want this fairly uniform. I don't need it to be perfect, but I want the color to be fairly uniform. There we go. I love this little cancellation stencil. Cindy Braden made it. Oh, and Sandy put the coupon code, my coupon code for her website up there. So go and check that out. And I think Sandy's got that butterfly pattern on her site from the class we were supposed to teach together, that we designed together. It was a fun project. Sandy did an amazing job teaching it. Just based on all the notes and the comments that I got afterwards, she did an amazing job. There we go. Okay. Now, I put mine at an angle just because I wanted to fill as much of this space as possible. That's the only reason I put it that way. You can angle it any way you like. So, look at that. So it fills that space really nicely. I love this little stencil. It's just been an awesome little thing. So I'm going to dry this really well. There we go. I don't know what I'd do without this thing. You might notice that my desktop is nice and clean again. I just repapered the top of my desk. So one of the things you'll notice when you're stenciling is if you run your fingers over this, you can actually feel that, the edge of that. So I like to take the fine side of my sander and just lightly sand this surface so that I get a nice smooth finish. And it's okay if it distresses that lettering. It's just a fun. So this does not have to be complex. We just want to put a little bit of movement back there and a little bit of interest. The grapes cover up probably 60% of the surface, but having something back there, it sets a tone, it sets a theme, and it provides a little bit of interest back there other than just a bare, plain background. I can't do a bare, plain background. It doesn't work for me. Not to mention, I'm sorry, my nose is very stuffed up right now. So we're going to work on this background. You can use a little bit of almondine for the background. You can use buttermilk for the background. There's any light colored tan to beige to cream. Any one of those is going to work just fine for this background. So one of the colors that we're going to work with next is a little bit of raw sienna. I love this color. I know it seems like it's really, really dark, but I really love this color. And it works really well to sort of develop that kind of distressed, old worldy look. So I'm going to use a nice big angled shader for this. And we're going to go around the edges of this. Get the white paint. I'm going to go around the edges of this with a little bit of the Juiconias and some of that raw sienna. We're not looking for a perfect float. So I like to go all the way around the outside edge of my surface first. I have lots, this is a very juicy float, lots and lots of liquid in my brush, lots of paint. Don't be shy with it. Just get some color in there. So I've got one float on there. And I'm going to dry this real quick. Now, when I'm doing this, I like to do it about 1/3 of the way in so that the center portion of this stays light. So I'm going to dry this and then I'm going to deepen that shading just a little bit. I like the richness of that raw sienna. And the fun part is you're going to get irregularities in there that are just going to work. Dry that. And I'm going to do this again. Oh my goodness. I love how rich that raw sienna is. Just gives great color. Nice warm tone. Raw sienna is just such a wonderful color. There we go. Okay, I think I'm happier. I like the deepness of that color. I just like that little bit of light in the middle. Now, I'm going to let this dry, and then we're going to use 2 shadings around the outside edge. We're going to do one with a thin dish Fulton, And then we're going to do another one with thinned soft black. There we go. So asphaltum. I love my asphaltum. I think you guys know that. This is going to be a wider float. And I just want to deepen the edges of this. I don't want to make it super dark, but I do want to deepen the edges of this. And it's coming in over top of that raw sienna. It just gives this raw sienna a real richness. Really nice. And then I'm going to make a smaller, narrower float with the soft black. And again, I'm thinning that color as well. I'm getting really tired of sounding like Edith Ann. Where do I get my neat stamps? I find stamps everywhere. One of my favorite places is scrapbook.com. I really like some of the stamps that they get. And what is the name of the other one now? My brain. Sandy, you know the name of it. I can't remember. I'm telling you, my brain does not function anymore. There's a couple of websites that I like to use for a variety of stamps and stencils. Sheila, honey, it seems like I have been sick constantly. I really haven't. I just seem to have been sick often. That's all. But this is just I think, partly a seasonal thing and then a virus on top of it. So I've had more than my fair share, I think, but I can thank my lucky stars. It hasn't been too serious. So, thinned soft black. See, only those born in the 60s and watched television in the 70s would know what I meant by sounding like Edith Ann. So, little float of that soft black. Look how rich that gets. And it's narrower than the other two. Because you want a gradual shift, right? Not a bar. So there it goes. Oh my goodness. There we are. I love soft black. It's just such a great color for toning all of these other colors. So there it is. It doesn't kill them either, which is, to my mind, the most important thing. When you're doing this type of shading, it doesn't kill the color that you've put on. Is she the one from Edith and Archie? No, Edith Ann. My name is Edith Ann. When I was a kid, we had a television show called Laugh-In. And there was always a character in it by the name of Edith Ann, and it was a little girl sitting in a giant rocking chair. My name is Edith Ann. And this is what she sounded like. See, Supron knows. Edith Ann. Edith Ann goes back even further than SNL. It goes back to the 1970s. Lily Tomlin. Yes, Becky Underwood. You got it. Yep. My name is Edith Ann. 6.5 years old. Yes, she was. It's time for a mouthful of tea, and maybe the heat will Open my nose. Ah, I couldn't get there. I wanted to say Ruth Buzzy, but I knew that wasn't right. So we're now going to put an aged edge on this. Sort of a chipped wood look. I'm going to use a rigger and some thin soft black. Not heavily thin, just thin enough that it's going to come off the brush easily. And we're going to roll the brush along the edge. I didn't want it too thick, but I also wanted it to look really chipped. So I'm just sort of pushing and pulling the brush a little along the edge. So kind of like you see how it looks kind of broken? I've done this so many different times and on so many different pieces, but this one really lends itself well. I love it on this one. Just gives this whole piece that really distressed, look. Oops. See, I made a mess, but that's okay. I got a little carried away with the brush. Da-da-da-da. This is just a fun way to finish an edge, especially in this type of a design, because you kind of ends up looking like old beaten up parchment by the time you're all done. Whoops. Note, I say oops a lot. So we get some really cute buttons in. We've been tucking them into orders as they go out, so you guys can share in the fun. We get some Be Kind pins, little buttons, and we got some Neatness Doesn't Count buttons. We've just been having a good time with them. So there is that sort of chipped and distressed edge. I essentially want this to look a little irregular. I don't want it to look so perfect and straight. So we're going to dry this really well, and then we're going to shade it one more time. And that way we get that nice dark, distressed looking edge. Now I always work towards the surface. What's for dinner tonight? Tonight we are doing honey garlic brats on the grill. And I'm making a blueberry Caesar to go with it. I've been busy working in my garden. I picked about I would say close to a bushel of tomatoes in the last week, and I still have a bunch more on the plants. My tomato plants were just insane. So I've been making tomato sauce at least once a week, and I did another 5 quarts this morning, so to use up some of the tomatoes as they ripen. So I've been doing them in small batches, but got lots of tomatoes, and I probably get about 5 to 10 pounds of wax beans. So we're going to do those tomorrow, and I have a lot more I have to pick yet. So we're going to do that tomorrow and can those. But tis the season, so canning jars are at a premium. It's trying to find the blessed things right now. So I have some in the storeroom, but a lot of the places locally that stock them are out of stock or very low. So I'm just going back around the edge with a little float of thinned soft black just to deepen the edge a little. And voila. And then I'm going to rinse out my brush and I'm going to pick up a little bit of asphaltum. I just want to thin this a little, very thin. And I just want to tone this a little bit. It was a little stark. So I'm just going to put a little bit of heavily thinned asphaltum in the middle. Whenever I find it's too bright in the center, I'll put a wash of asphaltum over top of it just to bring everything in line so all of the tones match. So this way it doesn't look like I've drawn a color around the outside edge, so it softens everything. Well, I think I've got 2 cases, but I know I'm not going to have enough jars, so I'm trying to get some more. I ordered some from Amazon yesterday, but they haven't shipped yet. Linnea, I have that recipe. It's delicious. And that's the other thing. I have to make some zucchini bread this weekend because I have a bunch of zucchini. So now that we've got this little background in place, I'm going to dry this really well. And then we're going to lightly spatter this. I like to spatter. But in this particular case, a little bit goes a long way. So I'm just going to thin a little bit of asphaltum. And I can decide later on if I want to add more, but I kind of like to put just a fine spatter in. It just gives this a nice visual texture. I don't want tons of it on there. Not at this point, anyway. I'll bring this up so you can see. It's very subtle. It's just a little bit, just to make it look a little aged, so it's a little more cohesive. But I really like that more gradual and subtle shift of color around the outside edge, the lighter value in the middle, and then this nice chipped away look at the edges. It does something for me. It's a fun finish. So give me 1 second here. I had to mute the mic for a moment. You didn't need to hear that. Me blowing my nose. So I am the line drawing, and I wanted to show you a trick. Somebody asked me about this not too long ago. I cannot stand having that full sheet of paper or tracing paper on top of my surfaces. It just drives me nuts when I'm tracing things. So I wanted to show you a little trick. I make a photocopy of my line drawing and I cut it out of copy paper. Like so. And then I do this. I cut it out in here and come around that curve, do about a quarter of the way so that you've got a nice little flap here. And I know you're wondering like why, but I'll show you. And then you're going to grab your painter's tape. I am a firm believer that once your paper, your line drawings, anything shifts, you're going to have the devil's own time trying to get them back into the right position. So here's what I do. I take my line drawing, and that little tab that I've just put in there, I flip that underneath like so, and I tape it in place. And now my line drawing is firmly in place. So it's not going anywhere. I can do my tracing. If it shifts, it's going to go a little to the left or a little to the right, but not much. And it's easy to straighten it back out again. And that way it stays right where it's supposed to be. Because that drives me to distraction. So I got a piece of graphite. I'm going to use gray for this. Put it in place. And then I'm using my red pen to do my tracing. So there's my lines, my little leaf. I'm going to draw my leaves and my stems. Now, you'll note, I am not tracing my grapes yet. Just the stems and the leaves. Because I'm going to use a shape maker to trace my grapes. I like nice round grapes. So use a shape maker, one of these little tools, or a dot stencil. I have shape makers done on stencils that work really well. And then you just find the circle that matches the size of the circle you want to trace. And you trace your circles using a shape maker. And this way you get nice round grapes. When it comes to certain things, especially round things, it's important that they be accurate. They don't necessarily have to be perfect, but they do have to be accurate. And if there's one thing I know when you're painting anything that's round, is that it's not going to stay round for long. It's going to end up egg-shaped, no matter how hard you try. Especially if you have to draw it on or trace it on by hand. If you've got a shape maker, it makes it a whole lot easier to make nice round grapes, nice round circles, nice round berries. And I use shape makers all the time for this purpose. So if you've ever wondered how you get really perfect grapes, this is how you do it. You use a shape maker to trace those grapes. Whether it's circles, whether it's grapes or berries, any kind of fruit, candy, anything that is circular, spherical, break out a shape maker. It's going to make your life a whole lot simpler in the end. And it improves the look of whatever it is you're painting because the accuracy is there. There we go. My graphite is not quite lined up for this bottom grape, so I gotta make sure that it's straight. Didn't quite make it for this little grape down here. And then I've got a little piece of a leaf over here. So quick check, make sure I've got everything traced. And there we go. So it's so nice to be able to drop that back into place. If everything looks good, then it probably is good. And I missed a grape right here. There is a grape back here in this shadow, back here. So I'll tuck a little graphite underneath. I'll put this back in place. And I'm just going to put a little line in there so I know where it is. There we go. So just that little tip about securing your line drawing in place, it just makes life so much simpler. And it helps improve the accuracy of your line drawings. And then throwing in a shape maker doesn't hurt either. I love my shape makers. They're very handy. I'm going to give myself a clean palette because we're going to start with a little bit of antique green. I love antique green. It's my favorite green for leaves. I will use lush green in a pinch because it's so close, but the lush green is a little more opaque. And I really like the transparency. Now I'm going to grab a round brush. I'm working with a number 5 black gold round. And we're going to start by adding thinned antique green to our leaves. So I just threw a little bit of Joe Sonia's in there. And I love working with these colors when they're transparent. And just paint in the shape of the leaf following the shape of the leaf. Plantation pine. It is a hard color to locate. I've been using black green because I haven't been able to find any plantation pine. Still my favorite green though. I love it for shading because it's so transparent, but you know, needs must. Black green it is. So, little bit antique green in between those stems. I love this green. I just think it's so pretty. Now we get a little spot down here. And again, these colors are quite transparent. Don't panic if they're not fully opaque. Doesn't matter. We're going to put a bunch of different layers in. So there's my antique green. And now we're going to use a little bit of Tuscan red. This is a red I absolutely love. But this one is it's so rich and so elegant, and it's yummy. So we're going to use a little bit of Tuscan red, and I do mean a little because we're not going to be using a lot of this. And again, we're thinning it out. So nice juicy color. Get that Joe Sonia's in there. And you're not going to torture yourself with this. So I'm going to put a wash of Tuscan red. And even that's a little strong. There we go. There, that's better. I'm just putting a wash of Tuscan red on each of these grapes. What I love is that you can still see the graphite right through this, which is perfect. We don't need it to be opaque. Just take the time to make sure that it's accurate, that it comes up to the edge of that graphite line. If it goes over, that's okay, but try to keep it well within. There we go. So essentially, we're just going to put sort of a dark pink tone. And one of the colors that I introduced to this was Cherry Merlot. It's one of Decor's new colors this year, and it's a unique color. It kind of walks the line between a red and a purple. And it's just so luscious. And it really needed to be used as a shading color for this Tuscan red. It was crying out to be used as a shading color. So there, look at how pretty this is. I love that Tuscan red. It's just luscious. And it's thinned out so we can do some fun stuff with it. We're not looking for fully opaque. So don't panic. And this is user friendly. This is just going to be putting that color in. All we're looking for is that accuracy, just to make sure that you get it up to the edge of those graphite lines, because we want nice round lush grapes, and we want nice accurate grapes. Such a pretty color. So pretty. And remember, we have a grape in here. There we go. Sometimes what you need is less concern about the accuracy of the color as much as we are about the accuracy of the shape. And at this point, that's more important, is the shape. Getting those nice round, crisp grapes. That's what's important here. And the nice thing is that we can make them darker, we can make them lighter just by changing and adding more color to it. So we're not obligated to make things absolutely perfect the first time around. I just love this color. I love that I can still see all of that stenciling right through the grapes. They never really go away in this piece. They just sort of hide back there and become part of the grape, which is what we're looking for. So I'm going to come back to the green. I want to fill in this space in here. This is our green. Remember, that leaf is in behind these grapes, so we need to get that green in. And again, it's just a wash. Doesn't need to be perfect. There we go. Now remember this little grape that's tucked in behind these others? I'm going to put a wash of that green right over that grape. It's going to change how that grape looks. Just a little bit. See how it deepens that color? Just a little bit. And then we're going to use some of that raw sienna. Love raw sienna. I'm going to use that raw sienna. And that is our color for our stem. There is a little bit in here. There we go. I missed a spot on this leaf over here. Bat in 1,000 today. There we go. I'm going to come back in. I strengthened some of these with a little wash of that Tuscan red. I love this color. There we go. Such a pretty tone. Now, you can make this as dark or as light as you want, but I wanted to keep these grapes looking a little translucent for a little while. So we're going to begin adding a little bit of depth to these grapes. And one of the colors that I love using, we're going to use a little bit of that soft black. I love soft black. Now, soft black has a slight reddish tone to it. Hi, Fran. Hi, Sandy. So, I'm going to grab a small angled shader. I'm going to use a 3/8 faux squirrel angled shader. I like my 3/8. Elizabeth, yes, I am a little nasally, but I am feeling a lot better. I don't feel like I'm drowning anymore. That's all, I've been so gurgly because of the bronchitis, so that seems to be fixing itself. So we're going to start shading some of these grapes along the bottom. Just to separate them, I'm using a little float of soft black. And I like to thin it. I like my soft black thinned. And I like soft black for these types of reds simply because it already has that reddish undertone and it marries very well to reds in general. And it's an easy color to control when you're working over top of reds. So I'm starting with these ones on the underside and I'm shading underneath the grapes that are on top of it, just to add that depth. So this is what's separating those grapes. So thinned soft black. And it helps to round out these grapes very nicely. Here we are. Love soft black. So lots of Joe Sonia's in that brush. Don't try to get all the shading done in one go. You don't need to get it that dark right away. We're just setting a tone here. And I just realized as I'm looking at this that I missed a grape. Or I missed base coating a grape and I painted it green. But that's all right. Here we go. So there's that tone. You can see how those grapes are starting to lift up. So a little shading. And this is where that little shape maker, the value of that shape maker really comes in, when you can get those nice crisp shadings and accurate shadings in and around things. So you're still left with these really nice round grapes. And then we're going to lift some of these ones up a bit, a little shadow, just to separate and lift them away. And that little bit of soft black just gives these grapes just a slightly purple tone. It's very subtle, but it's a really nice purple tone. Works really, really well. And it's an easy color to subdue if it gets a little out of hand. So because we use that heavily thin Tuscan red, one of the things you've probably noticed is that we get nice variation. We've got some grapes that are a little darker, some that are a little lighter, and so we've got this nice variation from one grape to the next. None of them are perfectly the same tone. So some have that nice translucency, and I really like that. So the fun part next is to add a little bit of richness to that, and we're going to use this color. This is that Cherry Merlot that I was telling you about. I love the tone of this. It's not a typical purple. It is a red, but it has that violet tone to it. So it's going to give us that yummy richness that we want. The fact that it's also a little more on the transparent side doesn't hurt. So a little bit of that Joe Sonia's in the brush. You want this paint nice and transparent. I love that it has sort of almost a mulberry tone to it, but it's a little bit richer. So I'm going to shade some of these berries here with that. So on the shaded side, I'm going down and to the left on these berries, a float of that Cherry Merlot. So it gives you the darkness that we want, gives you the depth that we want, but look at that yummy color. It's just so rich. Now I have thinned this out quite a bit, so it is not full strength by any means. But watch what happens when you float over top of that Tuscan red and over top of that soft black. You get that really rich tone. And these grapes get just a little darker, a little deeper, and they still maintain that transparency. Look how lush these colors are. Love it. So when you put that color right over top of that soft black, look what happens. All that richness. So we get that lush reddish purple. Look at that. And we never lose that variation. They don't end up all being the same color. Over top of that soft black, where you get into those shaded areas and go over it with that Cherry Merlot, it just gets a little richer still. And then on that shaded side, look at this. Love it. Just such a lush, lush color. Now, you can continue to do this. You can add more soft black if you choose. It depends entirely on how dark you want to make these grapes. If you are really, right now I'm just in love with how translucent these look. But I want them a little deeper, so I'm going to put another float of that Cherry Merlot on a few of them, not all of them. I just want to deepen a few places. I love that this color is just so lush. Just yummy. And I don't want all of these grapes to have exactly the same tone. I want them to have that lush look. Susan, yes, the Cherry Merlot is a new color. It just came out this year for 2024. It is just such a lush tone. Most of the new colors that they put out this year have that really almost a jewel tone to them that really appeals, but they're quite transparent for the most part. Oh, yummy. I'm loving it. So I think I'm happy with that tone. I think I'm going to stop there. But I have a grape back here that needs deepening. And there's supposed to be a grape back here that I forgot to put in. It's right there. So I'm going to just add some color. Just to deepen that area a little bit. Now, another color that Decor put out this year that I just love. I think I've gone through about 4 bottles of this because I use it on everything lately. This is Tea Berry. I know it's an unusual color and you wouldn't think to use it on something like this, but we're going to use it as our highlight color. Just a little. I love this tone. And again, I'm a lot of glaze and I blend it out. It is not full strength. And we're going to bring a little of that tone just in from the edge a little bit. I like to leave a sliver of the original color. I want you to see. I exaggerated a bit so that you can see it. So there's the edge of the grape. I'm going to come in just a little and leave a sliver of the base color. Just a sliver. I want some of that original base color to show through. Just a sliver. And it does make these grapes look just yummy. I know it's a unique color to use on top of all of these purples and reds, but very pretty. And it gives them sort of a dusky look, I think is the word I was looking for. I was trying to describe that to somebody the other day. I think it just gives the grapes a slightly dusky look. And it adds a little richness. You see how those grapes are really taking on a nice round, spherical shape. So not all of these grapes get a highlight. Not all. There we go. And I think that's about it. So we've got that nice lush tone. So do you see what I mean about that? That little extra, that corally tone in there just gives them that slightly dusky look. That it just warms everything up. So you can see we've got all those variations from one color, one grape to the next. All too often when we paint grapes, we think of them as all being purple. Yes, Cheryl, I use the fast dry glaze instead of water for floating. So now that we've got those tones in, I'm going to come back in with a little more soft black. Again, all of these colors that I use are very thin. I'm not using a ton of paint. So I'm going to deepen my shading on these underside grapes. We want to develop a little more contrast in here for a couple of reasons. One, these grapes are out of the sunlight. They're not part of the light catchers, let's call them that. So they can be a little darker. And by having that contrast in there, it makes the lighter and brighter grapes even brighter. And it pushes them forward so that you get that nice punch. And don't forget that little shadow on the back side. Again, leave that little sliver, even on the shaded side. And this is where those grapes will really start to come alive. That little shadow, much like the highlight, you need that little sliver. And it's not a wide one, it's just a little tiny sliver. That little shadow will make all the rest of that just jump up. So now we've got those darker grapes on the back and the lower left. And look at how all of those other grapes just pop. So we're going to give them a little more contrast. We're going to use that plantation pine and a little bit of, again, with the Joe Sonias. We're going to shade all of those green areas. I don't have plantation pine. I'm going to use a little bit of black green. It'll do the same thing. I'm just going to thin it out quite a lot. And we're going to shade in behind our grapes. I know I paint fast. Sorry. Is when you're shading up and around these grapes, make sure you come in nice and tight to the edges of those grapes, because you want that contrast. You want these leaves to stand out a little. There we go. Nice and tight. Now I love that the greens and the reds, I love seeing all of this stamped or stencil design showing through. I'm partial to that. I love the look of that. So I'm using around, I'm going to put a wash of that black green over top of that grape that's back there. And inside that whole area in there. But you need to have it thinned out. There we go. See, with this grape, there is a grape in there, but it's going to be darker. Here we are. But there's very little light getting to this area. So we could put a nice little wash of that darker green back there. So I'm going to dry this. And then we're going to put a nice little dry brushed highlight on a few of these grapes. And then we'll highlight those leaves. And here, it's going to get highlighted too. So something I want to do, I want to take a little of that. I need to, there. This needed to be defined a little in here. Wasn't quite sharp enough. Little, that's that black green. I wanted to deepen that. There's a grape in there. And there's another one here. I need to deepen these a little bit. They still have a little undertone of that red. But we needed to deepen them a little. There we go. So I'm going to use a small dry brush. If I can find it. There it is. This one's my fave. This is actually a Traditions brush. You can't get these in the Faux Squirrel, the Dynasty Faux Squirrel. It's just a dome blender, but I like this. I'm going to use a little bit of warm white. Just a little. And we're going to put a light dry brush highlight, semicircular, just inside the edge of these grapes. Remember where we put the tea berry? We're going to put a light dry brush highlight in there. Not to cover it, but following that shape. It's very light. Doesn't have to be bright. And it's going to give these grapes a soft, almost chalky look. And I kind of like that chalky look. But it's a semicircular, follow the shape of that float, but just inside it. You see how soft, almost chalky those grapes look? It isn't a glaring highlight. It's a very soft highlight. And semicircular, following the shape of that first highlight that we did. Keep it soft. And it's always going to be on the upper right. I don't want it to be a glaring highlight. Go. And it does not need to be on every grape. So, where is my... Take my small angled shader. And our highlight color for our leaves is Margarita. I love this high yellow green. The other reason I like this one in particular is because it's also quite transparent. And it has just enough white in it that we could get really nice highlights. So don't be afraid to bring that bright yellow green right out to the edge of the leaf. I love this bright yellow green. These leaves are not perfect. We just need that bright tone. Tip of the leaf. It's the highlight. And on this right here. A little bit in there. It is not a perfect highlight. But it does make the edge of that leaf quite bright. So we could come back in and deepen some of those shadings. Wherever you think they might be a little wanting, you can deepen them. And in those places, you can brighten highlights. Don't be afraid to pop some more highlight in if you need it. Great color. Margarita. Such a pretty yellow green. So I'm going to dry this really well. we're going to do a little work on that stem. Needs to be fixed up a little bit. Little shading, little highlighting. We're going to do some few little details to this. We're almost there. So I'm going to grab my rigger. I know I have one here somewhere. And I'm going to grab some raw sienna. My little stem here was a little wanting. I needed to smarten that up a bit. Wasn't quite deep enough. There we go. Raw sienna is a great color. Oop. I have my extra long detail liner, and I'm going to mute here for a second. I'm back. Sorry about that. You just didn't need to hear all of that. Pardon me. So I'm going to dry this. And we're going to shade this stem with a little bit of asphaltum. I lost my bottle of asphaltum. So don't need a lot. So we're going to shade on the back side here with a little bit of asphaltum. I love asphaltum for all of these earth tones. It's a great shading color. And I'm going to deepen that with a little bit of soft black, just a couple of places. Just make sure it's dry before I do this. So a little bit of soft black, just to deepen this. I love that I wanted just that slightly more defined shadow in there in a few places. Doesn't have to be perfect, but we do need to get those shadows right. There we go. Now I've got my extra long detail liner. Now I'm going to use a little bit of asphaltum. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that warm white. Maybe a little raw sienna. I just want to make a light-ish raw sienna for a highlight. Just to detail the top of that stem. And then I want to bring that lighter value along the top edge of our stem, like so. And then a little bit of warm white. It's a fine line. We don't need to have a really strong highlight on this, but it needs something just to make it stand out a little. There we go. And just a tiny bit in here. Now I've got my rigger. I'm going to bring in a little bit of that warm white. And I just want a little dot on some of these highlighted grapes. Not all of them. I don't want to have every grape with a dot on it. But that little dot just brings all of these closer. Makes them brighter. Hello. fire.
What do you want?
Oops, anywhere in there. That'll do. So we've got a nice little highlight on a few of those grapes. And now we're going to finish up these leaves with a little blush of color. I like having a little bit of that Tuscan red just to carry it around. So we're going to bring a little Tuscan red, just a float of it, onto the leaves. I like to have a little bit of it on the edge of the leaf, like that. A little here, and a little bit up here. I just love that little bit of reflected color. It just helps define the leaves really nicely. And if at any time you find your leaves are perhaps a little less vibrant than you would like, deepen your float with a little bit of that original base color. So bring a little of that Tuscan red in. If your grapes are looking a little flat, put a little float of that Tuscan red over top of all of it. It's not going to hurt. You've already used it once before. It does not hurt, but it just makes these grapes sing. That little bit of Tuscan red. So if at any time your grapes just looking a little flat and they've lost some of their vibrancy, you know, from multiple layers and whatnot, bring in a little of that Tuscan red. It will not hurt. So now, one of my favorite things, I got to grab one of my gel pens. A black gel pen, if I can find one. Good gravy, Marie. You guys know I can't go do anything without a black gel pen these days. So I'm going to just put a little scribbly line around my leaves. Add that to the stem a little bit because, you know, I like that little detail. Just makes things stand out nicely. And it is not a perfect line. It doesn't have to follow the edge of the leaf exactly, because that would be boring. Why would we do that? I like those little sketchy details. They just add a little bit to it. You could add it to some of the grapes too, if you really want to, but you don't have to. Not everybody is a fan of the gel pen, and that's okay. I like my gel pen. So if you do, just in a few places, you don't want a heavy-duty line everywhere. So I'm going to dry this really well. I'm going to use my black eraser just to clean up a few graphite lines. And then we'll add a nice little vine to this. Now, I can't seem to control myself when it comes to cancellation stamps, so you know that I had to grab a cancellation stamp for this. What colors would I use for green grapes? That's a great question. I would go in with the antique green as my base color, and then I would use more than likely a little of that margarita as one of the highlight colors, but I would definitely dip into something a little deeper, even maybe even something with a little more phthalo in it. Here we go. Black Forest Green. I would be using some of this in there, and I would still bring in a little bit of Tuscan Red. Just because I think there should always be a little blush of it somewhere. So this is nice and dry. I want to clean up some graphite lines because I don't like graphite lines. So there we go. Easy peasy. Oh, lemon squeezy. Love it. Because I used a gray graphite, I just don't like having them back there. It just looks a little heavy-handed. Love that. I'm going to grab my favorite stencil. You know, I can't paint anything without a cancel. There's one there, so I got to use one here somewhere. So I have some gold paint someplace. Here it is. I have, this is my favorite gold metallic, Extreme Sheen 24 karat gold. I use it all the time. I look awesome in freeze frame. As long as you get me without my mouth open, we're good. So I'm going to get a little bit of gold. I'm going to use my dirty stencil brush, the one I had asphaltum in, because, you know, it's all good. And I have a thing for this cancellation stamp. Anybody that's painted with me knows that. So although I don't necessarily always use it so to its full size, I do like to pop it in. I just think it adds a little something, something. So I'm going to add this in.
You're going to put an Eiffel Tower on a Tuscan theme?
Yeah, why not? It's a wine theme, not necessarily Tuscan. It's a grape theme. So somebody mailed it to France. Who knows? Or from France.
Do you really think Italians are going to drink French wine?
No. No, they won't. So I like that little, you know, that little flash of gold in there. It's just... Ask Patrick. Patrick would probably drink Italian wine. Maybe. Everybody's saying hi to you. Yeah. They miss you.
I got an Energizer bunny for a dog.
Oh, is she driving Dad crazy?
Yeah. Just, she needed to burn some more energy.
Oh, she always... I got greeted this morning. She helped me make the bed this morning. We'll use that term, help, loosely. And how are you feeling, Renee? That's what they're asking, because they knew you were sick too. Yes, how is his foot?
Sore.
Yeah,
Still.
still. Yeah.
I think it bruised the bone. Didn't break it.
So you can finish the little piece that goes in there the same way that we did that background. And these ones fit together so neatly. They're such a handy little rig. Now, the only thing that I would do to this at this point would be to spatter it a little bit. Because, you know, I got to spatter everything. But I would like a little bit of warm white.
I don't like that it doesn't make a big deal about what just happened.
What?
Well, Tracy Casper just donated $20.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Now they're asking Patrick if he's a wine snob. Oh, a wine snob. So I have gold on my palette. So I'm going to grab a little bit of gold. And I'm going to spatter it with a little bit of gold, because why not? Because it's pretty, that's why. So you can get as heavy-handed as you like with the gold spatter. And we're going to dry this.
Deb Danica. Graf and played with a Belgian Malinois at the park today. So flipping cute. They were fast friends. I bet they were fast friends.
Yep, no doubt. The delivery guy from Costco the other day, Maze, he didn't know that she was there, and she was kind of napping. And when she heard him deliver, she sat up and barked at him, and he looked at me, smiled, and said, "Is she friendly?" And I went, "Nope." No, she is not.
She is a sweetheart to her people.
Yep, she's a sweetheart to us, but no, she doesn't like anybody else. So, finish off your the lower piece the same way we did the background, and voila, fun little wine themed or grape themed phone stand. Super easy. These are just fun, and they make a great gift too. You could fill up stockings with these. They're great. Patrick, I'd rather die. Oops, yes, it seems I am.
I'd rather die than what? Drink Italian
Wine,
wine?
apparently.
Ouch.
That depends on the Italian wine, I think.
The wheel.
The wheel. So our giveaway for today is we have the kit for next week's class, and we're painting farm fresh berries. I kind of got carried away this week. I was trying to do a whole bunch of things, and not the least among them was to get rid of this. But I was playing with the farm fresh thing again because I have doodles and sketches galore. And I really fell in love with the whole raspberry thing. So raspberries it is. So we're doing farm fresh berries in a little stone bowl. I love the idea of the little stone bowl. So we have that. And our giveaway this week is a Dynasty Faux Squirrel brush set. 3 fabulous brushes. One of them is a needlepoint liner. You're going to love it. So we have a needlepoint liner, and then the Dynasty Faux Squirrel brushes are in there as well. Plus the kit for Farm Fresh berries. So it has the surface, the stencils, the brushes are in there. Plus there's a bunch of other goodies that we throw in as well. So that is your giveaway for this week. If Renee ever gets the wheel working.
I think I did.
Yeah. There it is.
Yay.
Holy crap. It's full.
Yes.
There it is. We got 187 names on there. Holy smokes. So hit that button.
What did I do?
I don't know. Did you? There it is. Oops.
I don't have my marker ready.
And our first winner is Patsy Justice.
Patsy Justice. They can't see her name. I don't like that she can't see her name. What? Patsy Justice.
Yep. So Patsy, if you are still watching, make sure that you head over to the website, click on the little speech bubble in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, and send us your shipping information so that we can get everything out to you as quickly as possible.
2:35 p.m.
What?
It's my watch again. Click.
Oh, there we go.
Kay Reynolds. Right on, Kay. I know that we have Kay's information.
Why is this all messed up?
I don't know. You're the techie.
Yeah, Kay Reynolds.
Kay Reynolds. And we have one more.
No relation to.
Bert? No, I don't think so.
Ryan?
Ryan? Yeah, maybe. Yay, Kay. And one last one.
There we go.
Jan Love Cottrell. So Jan, head over to the website at tracymonroe.net. Click on the little speech bubble in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. Send us your shipping information so we can get your goodies out to you as soon as possible. And just a note, we hang on to those parcels for 2 weeks. If we don't get your shipping information, the packages go back into the bin, and we use them for either future giveaways or for our giveaways for our 12 Days of Christmas, which as mind-boggling as it is,
No. It's only like, what, 4 months away?
is 4 months away, which is going to be literally around the corner. I do have a couple of really fun pieces coming up. My membership group is going to be painting for Halloween this year. Yay! So I've got a fun piece for you there. I also have a Halloween piece coming up for a future live, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And what else? There was something else. I forget what it was.
The members live next Wednesday.
Yes, we have the members live next Wednesday, and the members Tuesday night live. We are going to show you how to paint a waterfall. So,
Waterfall?
yeah, how to get the direction. So we'll show you how to paint a waterfall. It's going to be fun. And then on Wednesday, we have our monthly live class. Really looking forward to that one. It is a very mixed media looking piece using purples and bright yellows, all with a very sunflowery theme because it's sunflower season. So, and that is it for us today. Thanks so much for joining us every week as you do. We greatly appreciate it. We love having you here. So join us next Saturday at same time, same bat channel. We're going to be painting Farm Fresh berries. So that one will be a lot of fun as part of that Farm Fresh series. And to those of you who donated to our Feed the Puppers Fund, thank you again. Thank you so much. We appreciate it, and so does our local animal shelter. So, Teresa, thank you very much. Everybody have a great weekend, and enjoy these dog days of summer. We'll see you again next week.
Dog days.
Ha ha. We'll see you again soon. Love you. Stay safe.
Pet your dog.
Pet your dog.
The whole dog.
Yeah, no, not just one portion of the dog, right?
Right.
Yeah, the whole dog.
The whole dog.